Let's try this again. My name is Anna. I'm a wife of an addict in recovery, and I'm also recovering myself from codependency. Good Thursday morning. Today, I wanted to come on and talk about what detachment looks like, because I do know we continue just to say we need to detach, or I continue to say we need to detach, we need to detach. But it was a very good question. You know, I think sometimes when I'm expressing things, see, same thing, fall under the assumption of what we know, what that looks like, or what that means. And so thank you very much for the individual that said, what does detachment look like? So that we can do a live on what detaching does look like. We'll even probably go into what it feels like and what it means. Detaching. Good morning, Carrie. This is going to be a hard topic, and the reason why is because I think this is the very thing a lot of us as family members or friends, when we love someone in addiction, we don't want to do. Our codependency, we try to take pieces of the puzzle and make it work, no matter what, because we don't want to detach. Good morning, Tina. So what it does look like is, what does detachment look like? For me, I want to go into, actually, before we go right into it, what I want to do is kind of bring this perspective and this story up, okay? So that we can just get an idea of what it looks like before we actually detach, and why detaching is not only good for our loved one in addiction, but it's really good for us as well. In active addiction, there would be a lot of times where it really did seem like the cycle was on rinse and repeat. And what did I mean by that? I mean that Mitchell's addiction would come to a head and there would be a really big fight or blowout. Good morning, Shannon. And from that fight and blowout, we both would get really upset with one another, and we'd stop talking to one another for a while. I would still be very upset. I would go back. I was usually always the one that went back into the conversation to have talks happen and occur. So I'd go to Mitchell. We'd have a talk. Mitchell would tell me the things that he was going to do or the things that he was sorry for. Then things would start to settle down, but deep down inside, I still felt a certain way. I still felt hurt by the actions, not heard, and I definitely was building resentment, and I was losing trust. What would happen is time would go by. It seemed, when I say okay just means the addiction wasn't as present. There wasn't that blow up. You could probably time it for Mitchell and I about every 3 weeks to about a month. Then all of a sudden there would be another blowout. Mitchell would either apologize or he would say he was going to do these certain things again, and we'd sit down, we'd talk about the things that he was going to do. Rinse and repeat every single time. Now, what I want to tell you about that scenario right there is a few things. Mitchell keeps apologizing and saying he's sorry for the actions. It's not that I don't believe him. At the very end, I have to be honest, I didn't believe Mitchell at all. I always called them empty promises, okay? And sorries actually, they were like daggers. The sorries actually hurt me because I felt like there was a part of me that knew when people apologized that it meant that they were going to try to change their, excuse me guys, change their behavior. Mitchell never changed their behavior. So I had a belief within me that said when someone apologizes, they're sorry, meaning they're going to change and challenge their behavior. It's not, I guess in my mind, even not even thinking about what I just said, it's going to stop. I think that's what I felt, is when someone apologizes, whatever hurts you is going to stop, because they understand that their action is hurtful. So what really hurt for me, and why at the very end, the sorries were like daggers, and they actually frustrated me. I would get angry when Mitchell would say, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the feeling I could probably say the most. I felt angry and I felt frustrated. And the reason being is because time and time again, what have I learned? I have learned, truthfully, that his sorries meant nothing. Okay? And what does that mean when I say it means nothing? Is that the addict would look at me, just say I'm sorry, but never ever change the behaviors. So that's why I would get frustrated and angry, because it was almost like you're using those words and they're supposed to mean a challenging of behaviors or a stopping of something. However, you continue to do it. And I want to be honest with everyone on here. A bunch of sorries for a behavior that someone does and they continue to do it, that's not asking for forgiveness. That's manipulation. Okay? I really want you to hear me say that again, because that is something that I really needed to be told multiple times. That if someone continues to say, I'm sorry to you, which is asking for forgiveness, and that means changing their behaviors. So if they are saying, I'm sorry to you, and you feel like the behavior has continued over and over again, that is not sorry, that is continued manipulation. So let's go a little bit further into the next part of this, and then we will talk a reason why detaching with love is actually a very healthy skill and tool for us and can also help our loved one in addiction. So we just talked about when they come and they say, I'm sorry, but the behavior continues. That's not asking for forgiveness. That's manipulation, okay? If they do not change their behaviors. Now, let's go into and let's be honest with ourselves. When our loved one says, I'm sorry, and then they express sometimes, I'm going to do A, B, and C. And what it looked like for Mitchell is, I'm going to go see a doctor. Or I'm going to go to AA meetings. This time, Anna, I'm going to work with a sponsor. Maybe I would see it not happen at all. It wouldn't happen at all. Or I'd see it happen for a certain amount of time, but then it would fizzle off. Okay? Here we go again. The addict is making promises. Over time, what continues to happen? What do I learn from this? My belief is when you tell someone you're going to do something, you're going to follow through. Now, I can give people the benefit of the doubt because I do exactly the same thing. There are things that I say I'm going to do. Life comes into the mix. That's not an excuse, though. I need to work on my congruency and integrity. Life comes into the mix, and I forget. I just know that we're not perfect, and you give benefit of the doubt, okay? So I understand that. However, what happened continuously over and over again, Mitchell would say that he was going to do something. That would mean say what you mean, okay, and do what you mean. However, it never followed through. So now here we go again. We have promises that are going to be made, but they're never followed through. I want you to hear me again on this one. When someone continues to give you promises and say they are going to do this, however, what you see is them either not following through at all, or they do it for a certain amount of time and then it drops off. That is not following through with their word or promises. That is another form of manipulation. What the addict is doing just what it's needed to appease the person again so that we quiet down. We're not angry anymore. We calm. And it doesn't mean that things are good. It just means that there's no actual fighting or feeling like the addiction is causing unmanageability. But if we really sit with ourselves and we ask ourselves that question, even in those times, be honest with yourselves. Did you really believe everything was okay now? Did you really believe that the promises were actually going to be followed through? Did you really believe that when the I sorry came that it would make everything better? Or did your belief system go, it's nice for right now, but it's not an answer of if it will happen again. It's an answer of when it will happen again. Be honest with yourselves. So, for me, being honest with myself, I always knew it was not a question of if it was going to happen again. It was a question of when. Probably after the first year and a half of honestly dating Mitchell, when there started to become more and more instances, my body, mind, and soul started already going, it's not going to be if, it's when. And so I already now started to be more on edge with things. I started to have more anxiety. When we started to do certain things, I was starting to be worried now. So I was already starting to get this buildup of anxiety, and I was also already building walls up to Mitchell, when Mitchell would tell me he would do something, not follow through, or saying, I'm sorry, okay, and it continuing the behavior anyways. Now let's go to all of it. In all those moments, how we just expressed, but I want to really make it a point. Did all of us as family members really heal from those moments? Did we really see change? Or did we go back in, because that's what our codependency calls to, did we go back into the situation before there was actual healing and change? We usually intend to go back into the insanity before there's actually healing and change, don't we? And let's look at our own behaviors. Did we only do that once? Twice? 3 times? 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20? Let's be honest. How many times have we gone back into a situation that was not healed yet and there was no actual change? We may see them go to a meeting, but then all of a sudden it drops off. And we're still in it. Why? Because we start to go, I don't want to affect this. I don't want to do anything about it. That's our codependency, by the way. So let's look at the 3 things, and we're going to really talk about now what detaching looks like and why we need to do it. 1, when someone apologizes and says, I'm sorry, what that means is that either, thank you, thumbs up, at least I know it's because I'm saying it. Okay, when someone apologizes and says, I'm sorry, what that should mean is actually looking, I'm going to put my thumb down now, actually looking at their behaviors, challenging it, changing it, or the behaviors stop. If your loved one is apologizing to you over and over and over again, and there is actually no change, that is manipulation. When your loved one is telling you, I promise you, what I'm going to do is go to the doctor, reach out to this person, go to meetings, go to outpatient, go to inpatient, go to a sponsor, and they don't do it, or they only do it for a short while and it drops off, again, that is manipulation. So I want everyone to see, what have we talked about? When the addict manipulates, what do we need to do? We need to hold a consistent boundary. What does that consistent boundary actually look like? Here it comes, detaching with love. Because this is what we are teaching our addict. When what is happening is, promises are coming through, they're not following through on it, they're saying I'm sorry, but no behaviors are actually changing. What does that show them? That they can just say these things, do these things, and it comes back to those moments where it's okay. Does that actually show them that their lives in addiction is unmanageable? No. What that shows someone in addiction is, I can pout, I can scream, I can fight, I can appease, they calm down, I get my way, and I'm going to continue to use. Why? Because my family's right in front of me, and I still have my drug and drink of choice. We need to remember again that our loved one's brain is actually rewired. They do not think with logic and reasoning. Not as much. Just as Laura taught us, if you have someone with a cast on, okay? This is a representation, a broken arm of the brain. You put a cast on, you're starting to heal, possibly. Your arm is still broken, but you might still have a little bit of wiggling of your fingers. That doesn't mean the brain is healed. So if someone breaks their arm, okay, and that's a representation of the brain with addiction, it doesn't mean that once in a while they can't use logic and reasoning. It just doesn't work as well. So why does boundaries help? Why does detaching with love actually help? Because again, they don't really deal with logic and reasoning. They deal more with survival responses. It is truthfully that 15-second brain. So if they're repeating a 15 seconds over and over, or they repeat it when they get into a situation that's hard, and all they see is, well, I said I'm sorry, and look, they're okay with it. They're okay with it. They don't think, well, you know what, they might not really be okay with it right now. They're trying to give me another opportunity and chance. That's actually what they might be doing. You know what, I can actually see they're still a little upset and sad about this. You know, that's what I see. That's not what's going on in a brain of someone in active addiction. So guys, that is honestly what they see is, Well, I said I'm sorry, and they're right here with me, so everything must be fine. We're okay. Continued. Insanity cycle, over and over. However, detaching with love. What does this look like? This looks like sticking up for ourselves. What we see now is, you know what? If I sit down with someone and I tell them this behavior is hurting me, and they say, you know what, you're right, I'm sorry. Okay, let's see what happens and occurs. And I'm sorry is asking for forgiveness because you understand the behavior you did was wrong and you're going to challenge it. That is what a healthy I'm sorry and forgiveness should look like. Okay? Well, they say I'm sorry, but the action continues over and over and over again. We realize, you know what? They might believe that they're sorry. However, let's look at their intention. They're not following through. So they're not living in honesty, they're not living in congruency with themselves, and they're not living in integrity. They're also not living in empathy because they're not really understanding what's going on in the situation. And truthfully, with someone in active addiction, that's not really going to be there. So how can we help them? We can help them by detaching. And what that means is taking time, detaching from the connection in which we have with that individual, and taking time for ourselves to actually really process how we are feeling and give the situation time to see if people actually follow through with what they've expressed. That is what detaching with love means. It doesn't mean also that we have to scream and yell at them and call them an a-hole on every word under the book. That's not what detaching with love means. What detaching with love means, you know what? I also love myself. And I love myself and understand that if someone is going to tell me they're going to do something, they should follow through. If they don't, that's not healthy. And that actually hurts me. I love myself enough to stick up for myself and say, hey, you know, this behavior is really hurting me. And because it's hurting me, and if it continues, I'm going to take some time for myself, which means my connection away, and process how I really feel and give you the opportunity if you would like to follow through with your word. Is that bad? I want you to really think about that. Is that bad? We're allowing someone time and the opportunity to actually follow through with what they expressed they were going to do. Is that a bad thing? No. But ready, this is why a lot of times we struggle with it, because our codependency comes into play. We don't like this uncomfortability. We don't like that they may be upset with us. We don't like that we feel like we hurt their feelings. So before we actually give a long enough opportunity for their brain to actually go, whoa, maybe they are really upset with me. Maybe my behavior actually really did hurt them. Well, I do want them in my life. And this doesn't feel that good. Maybe I do want to change. You know what? I am going to follow through and do these things. However, what we tend to do as family and friends, our codependency gets the best of us. And we go in before the magic, in all honesty, can work. What we do is we stop ourselves because we don't want to process. We don't want to feel this way. We don't like this uncomfortability. We are fixers. Family and friend, we tend to be fixers. We want to fix a situation. We don't like sitting in this uncomfortability and this unknown. So we go straight back in real quick. So what can detachment look like? Honestly, guys, detachment can look for a night. Detachment can look like for a couple days. Detachment can look like for a couple weeks. Detachment can even look like a couple of months. And I know that sounds, oh my God, Anna. Okay. I understand where you're coming from, because what does that mean for us? A lot of uncomfortability. However, I am telling you right from the get-go, if someone is telling you I'm sorry and you feel like you keep hearing I'm sorries and they're starting to anger you or frustrate you or you're building resentments towards it, it is because we are having our codependency come in, and we are the ones that usually come in first and talk about a situation, or we say I'm sorry, even when truthfully there's nothing for us to be I'm sorry about. And what happens to your loved one in addiction is they go, okay, well, I apologize. I said I'm sorry, and my loved one's still here. Everything's okay. That's not helping our loved one. That is giving power and strength to the addiction, to the addict. Because yes, that is what we are saying. I hate to break it to us. I couldn't stand in the beginning when Laura taught me this. I was like, oh my God, am I making mistakes? Oh my God, am I doing something wrong? And she's like, what happens if you are Anna? Oh, well, here comes Anna's belief system in. That shows me, why did I, a lot of the times, work as a codependent? Three reasons. I'll say three. Oh, okay, so if I do three, is that a balloon? Three reasons. Ready? 1, I am a people pleaser. What does that mean? I do not like at all when someone is mad at me. That was one of my biggest codependent traits in the past. And being honest with you, I still struggle with that from time to time. So one of my biggest traits is people pleaser. So right when I'm holding a boundary, Mitchell's angry with me, right? Or the addict. The addict is angry with me. The addict's upset with me. I don't like that uncomfortability. All of a sudden, I start going into myself, not realizing, hey, this person is mad, and this is their pride and ego right here, and their entitlement, because they did just manipulate a situation. They have told me over and over that they were going to do this, and they haven't followed through. No, what do I go into? This is a me thing. It's my problem. Oh my God, am I making it a big deal? Did I do something wrong? Oh man, if I just made him mad, is this going to make the addiction worse? I made it all about me. All about me. That's our codependency. This has nothing to do with me. Mitchell's response. I'm just sticking up for myself. I'm actually being healthy for once in my life. He's mad because I'm no longer allowing manipulation in my life. That's why the addict gets mad at us. The addict gets mad because for so long, let's be honest, let's take accountability for this, we have allowed them to manipulate us because we have not understood what manipulation looks like, what gaslighting looks like. We didn't know that. We knew no better. So we just navigated the life that we knew. Although generally we did have our intuition go in and go, this isn't right. This isn't wrong. This is probably wrong. But we take that inner voice and we go, shut it. You're going to cause problems. He's going to get more mad. Stop. Intuition, stop. That's the codependent. That's the codependent. Instead of actually learning to try to solve a problem, which our intuition, our true self is trying to say, this is wrong, this is not right. Our codependency comes in and goes, stop it, you're going to make the situation worse. Is it really going to make it worse? Or are we actually really learning to speak up for ourselves and hold healthy boundaries? The codependent says, just like an addict does, I'm going to do this codependent thing, and it's not going to fix the problem. I'm going to live in denial and believe that I'm going to fix the problem because it gives me about 3 weeks to a month where it seems like there's no problems, so I'm going to fix it. No, codependent, you're numbing it. Just like an addict. We all do the lovely dance over and over and again, do the same thing, and we expect a different result. That's the definition of insanity. So what does detachment look like? It does look like taking our connection, our time, our energy, and effort away from somebody that is manipulating. I really want to express that because I think even though it's still hard for us to detach, it makes it a little bit easier to actually realize that when someone apologizes, okay, and they do the same thing over and over and over again, that is manipulation. That is not an apology. That is not a healthy I'm sorry. A healthy I'm sorry is I understand what I did and I am going to challenge that behavior to the point where I will have it stop. Continued I'm sorries and the same behavior continuing over, that is manipulation, and I need to be honest about this with family members, and I know this sucks to hear, and it is okay if you get mad or frustrated or angry at me. If, knowing this information today, if your loved one looks at you and says, I'm sorry, and the behavior continues, oh God, this makes me feel so uneasy about to say this, but this is a hard truth. I want you to look at the person in the mirror and going, you are saying yes to manipulation. I want you to look at the person in the mirror and realize you are being an active participant in manipulation. Why? Because we are, and understandably so, we are scared and nervous to do our hards. We have our own insecurities, our own fears. However, if you know this information now, and you know that your loved one has continually said, I'm sorry, and they are not following through and challenging their behaviors, if your loved one is saying, I'm going to do A, B, and C to get into recovery, and you don't see it happen at all, or if it happens and then it falls off, let's be completely honest. Let's take our part in this. Let's not be a victim in this stance. Let's take our power back from the perpetrator and go, you know what? I've been an active participant in this manipulation, and I will no longer be now. Why? Because I have found my confidence. I have found my strength. I have found new knowledge. I'm going to take my choice, and I'm going to take my power back from you. You do not deserve my power. I deserve it. And I am no longer going to look at you and say yes. I am going to say no to the addict. I'm going to say no to the manipulation. I know it doesn't feel good in the minute, guys, and we're like, oh, crap. Have we really been an active participant in this? Have we actually gone, hey, you know what? Manipulate me. Of course we don't say that. But in actuality, if we're not detaching when something is not working, we are being an active participant in this. And why can this be so powerful when we finally freaking accept this? Because now I realize I have the strength to say, you are not allowed to hurt me anymore. You are not allowed to hurt me anymore. Why? Because I have taken my power back. And if you look at me, and you say I'm sorry, it's going to be different this time. It is going to be detaching with love. And this is what it's going to look like. You say I'm sorry. I say thank you for your apology. I'm going to let you know right now, though. If the behaviors do not change from what you just said you're sorry about, I am going to detach. And what detachment looks like is I'm going to take my time, my energy, and my effort, and I'm going to focus it on me. I am going to take some time to process, to see how I really feel about this situation. And you leave it at that. And if the person does the same behavior they just said I'm sorry about, you look at them and you go, thank you for your apology. However, you said this before. It was not followed through. I am going to detach right now. I am taking my connection away because this behavior hurts me. And you take the connection away. And again, why is this important for our loved one in addiction? Because too many times we don't allow them that long period of time to process their feelings and emotions and to actually see what their addiction is causing in their lives and the people that they love. We come back in, we swoop in, we have another conversation, we fix it, we think we fix it, we haven't, and it just continues over and over. However, if we detach, we work with our support system. We let them know and process what we are feeling, the hards we are going through, the fears we're having, the insecurities. We go through that uncomfortability. This is ours to own, guys. Families, friends, this is not of theirs. This is ours to own. That uncomfortability that hurts inside, wanting to go and fix right now because you're getting anxiety and you want things good again, that is ours to own. We need to learn how to work through that. Just how their loved one, our loved one in addiction, when they finally make that choice and go, you know what, I really want recovery. What do you think they're going to have to work through? The same stuff you have to work through by pulling away and having to feel with all this ick inside. No longer having your numbing agent of codependency. You actually have to learn, how do I deal with this? How do I work through this? When sometimes there may not be fixing and I actually just have to feel it. That is exactly what your loved one is going to have to go through when they choose recovery. They no longer have their substance. They're going to have all this ick in there and they're going to want to go back to numbing it again. That's never going to fix the problem. Our codependency is never going to fix the problem. Ever. Please hear me with this. As I made that live a long time ago and I shared that short to try to put in this. Chris Alder, other addicts, Do you know the one thing they've always told me? No addict has ever got recovery through enabling from their family and friends. How did they have the possibility of finding recovery? Because family and friends held hard boundaries. And do you know what hard boundaries look like? Detaching with love. Don't come back into something before you actually see a changed behavior. Because here's the other truth about this. We are still hurting. We are still upset. We are still sad. We still have trauma. We still have frustration from them not following through with this. And if we have that, and we feel that, why are we going back into a situation? To just build more resentments towards our loved one? Really think about that. Why are we going back into a situation where it has not had time to heal? When we are still angry and frustrated, and I know some people will say, because I used to do this, well, time goes by. I calm, Anna. Okay, I do too. I calm too. But if I was ever hooked up to a lab machine and it said, Anna, do you feel like the addiction is solved? No. Okay? I was going back into something over and over again when intuitively my true self knew the problem's not fixed and I still hurt. And guess what it's going to do? Every time I sit back down and listen to that form of manipulation, I get angrier and more frustrated, more hurt. Well, here's the hard part about it. I am being an active participant in that hurt, in that anger, in that frustration, in that resentment. Why? Because I'm not ready to really come back. But my codependency goes, I need to fix the problem. So I need you to also realize, and this is what I had to realize, is we're doing a disservice to ourselves. We're not even giving ourselves time to actually process of how we feel in this situation. Because we're going back in and using again our own drug of choice, which is our codependency, and we numb the problem. It doesn't fix it. So detaching with love, yes, guys, it does mean taking your connection away from the individual. And I'm going to give you the 3 reasons. 1, did they just say, I'm sorry to you for their behavior? Is the behavior actually stopping? Or does it continue over and over and over and over again? And sometimes you feel like you have whiplash. I'm sorry, I do the behavior. I'm sorry, do the behavior. I'm sorry, I do the behavior. If that is occurring in your lives, you are being manipulated. And you are being an active participant in that manipulation. And that is not helping your loved one in addiction. That is enabling. So, what do you do by that? You stick up for yourself. And you let that person know, I love you. And boundaries are not to shut a door. Boundaries, as I was taught, think of it as a white picket fence. And your home is you. When someone treats you right and follows through with what they said, you open the picket door again. You can allow them back in. However, if they say, I'm sorry, and they don't follow through, you can say, there's the door. And you shut the picket fence, and it's not a wall. You can actually look through the gate and go, are they following through on what they said? Is there actually changed behavior? We can see it. That's not as harsh as we think it is. Other one. Your loved one says, I'm going to do A, B, and C. They say they're going to do something, but they don't follow through. If we continue to just keep coming back to them, we are being an active participant in the addict's manipulation. And again, earlier when I said in this live, remember again, we are not dealing with someone with a healthy brain. Addiction, the drugs, the drink, completely alters the brain, changes it. So what they see is this. They don't have logic and reasoning going, is my loved one still actually hurt even though they've accepted my apology or that I'm doing these things? Nope, that's not what they think. They just go, well, I apologize. They're still here. Everything's good. You know what? I started doing these things. Everything's good. I don't want to do them anymore, so I'm not going to do them. So holding these boundaries of detaching with love can really help our loved one because it allows more time for processing and it gets them sometimes possibilities, right? I'm not going to say this works all the time, but I'm going to tell you there's no possibility in enabling and going along with the manipulation. There is possibility in holding boundaries, though. So detaching with love is a healthy boundary. What you are saying is, you said you were going to do something, you didn't follow through. I'm going to take time for myself. And yes, I will say this. Should we say this before we do it? Absolutely. You should always verbally express your boundary before you detach. If you just have someone do something and you're mad at them and you just take your connection away, that's not healthy. Okay? Reason being why it's not healthy is you didn't do your hard, which is going into a situation, sticking up for yourself and holding a boundary. Okay? You need to do that. And we need to remember with our loved one in addiction, they need prompting. So if we just detach and we don't tell them why, they're just going to go, what the freaking, I don't know. What the hell happened? But if we go and say, look, you apologized last time for the same exact behavior. However, you're doing it again. I'm really hurt by this behavior. So I'm going to detach for a while and I'm going to take some time for me. And that means my connection, my energy, and my effort is going to be focused on other things. Then you detach. And you hold that until you actually see change. If you just go back into something before you see change, you can raise your hand up and say, I am a codependent and I'm going back in with my codependency. Why? Because it's too uncomfortable right now. I don't like this. I'm going back in. Be honest with yourself. However, this is no different. I'm being completely honest. This is no different than them continuously choosing a substance to stop that same pain inside. So who's going to be the person that leans into that hard, no matter how freaking hard and uncomfortable it is, reaches out to their support system, and actually change can happen? We can actually give a possibility with change. Do you guys feel like I really explained what detaching with love looks like, why it's important, and really talked about what it looks like in the form of manipulation? How do you guys feel? Do you guys have any questions that you feel like I should be expressing more of what detaching with love looks like? Anything to do with that. But detaching with love is exactly what it expresses. We don't have to be mean. We can calmly sit them down and we can express. You've apologized with this before. I'm hearing another apology. This behavior really hurts me, and until I see this behavior change, I'm going to detach with love. And what detaching means, I'm going to take time, energy for myself. I'm going to stop connecting right now until I see follow through. Okay? The other way, they're doing something and then they don't follow through. You told me you were going to go to meetings. You stopped going to meetings. This makes me nervous and scared. Until I see you follow through with what you expressed you were going to do, I'm going to disconnect, and that means taking my connection away. I need to focus on me because it hurts me. If they start saying, I can't believe you're doing this, why are you doing this, all this other stuff, you can look at them and calmly again say, I have realized when I come back in before something has changed, I am hurting myself. And it is building resentments in me. And that is not going to help our relationship. So I am taking what's inside my control. And until I see this follow through, I am going to focus on me so that I don't keep building resentments and I don't keep getting hurt. I don't want to be a participant in this anymore. I want you to really ask, is that mean? Any of what we expressed today, is any of this actually really mean? No. What makes us believe it's mean? When our addict is in addict mode and telling us that we're doing the wrong thing, that we're manipulating a situation, that we're being controlling, that we're abandoning them. Please remember this. This was not the first time. This is probably the 20th, 30th, 100th, could even be thousands. And you're not controlling them. You've actually done some soul searching and realizing what you want in your life, and you want healthy. And so you're letting them know, that's what I want in my life. It's not that I don't want you. I don't want these unhealthy behaviors. And you have the free will to choose whatever you want. Do you want to continue choosing unhealthy behaviors, or you want to do something different? That's not mean, guys. That's you actually healthy, loving, healthy, supporting your loved one and saying, look, I still love you, but these behaviors are not good for me and they're not good for you. The unhealthy behaviors is what makes the addiction thrive. You following through with healthy behaviors is what's going to be in recovery. So that is why we so badly need a support system. So that when the addict does throw everything at us, why? Because please remember, you are no longer being an active participant in the addict's manipulation. That is why you are getting what you're getting. They are pissed off at you because now they cannot get you calm and they're drug and drink too. Now there's more of a choice coming in. Okay? And that can maybe spark the logic and reasoning to come on. And again, like I told you, addicts don't get recovery because of enabling. Addicts get the possibility of recovery because loved ones do their work, the hard work on themselves, and they hold those hard boundaries. We're not doing anything mean. It's just because sometimes we have that low self-worth and that lack of confidence in ourselves that we believe we're doing something mean. And that's where support can help us. Support can let us know that we're doing the right thing, that we can go over there and they can support us and let us know that it's okay. And that gives us more of the confidence and strength. You're just no longer co-signing the manipulation. You're no longer being an active participant. And what you're doing is, I'm going to be a participant in healthy. I'm going to be a participant in new possibilities. I'm going to be a participant in change. You're challenging yourself. You're challenging your codependency, and that's a beautiful thing. Because that's where recovery is for all. It's not in our codependency. It's not in addiction. Where it is in healthy healing. Let me see. Just Patty, spot on. My son has stopped communicating because I asked the question, are you going to live in a shelter the rest of your life? I woke up because I'm holding him accountable. Too bad. So sad. Good job holding him accountable and holding that hard boundary. I know. I will be off in a minute. I want to share this with my support group, PAL, Parent of Addicted Loved Ones. You guys can share this wherever you want. I hope this was a helpful live. I really hope it showed that we're not doing something bad, guys, if we're feeling that feeling of, oh my God, so many empty promises and we're getting resentful, or they're saying the same thing over and over and they're not doing it and we're getting resentful. Detaching with love is not a bad thing. It's a picket fence, guys. We're just realizing I'm not going to be a part of this abuse anymore and this manipulation. I'm taking my power back. I'm realizing that when you say one thing and you're not following through, that's manipulation. I'm going to stick up for myself and I'm going to stick up for the true self. The true you inside. And I'm going to say, no, this is wrong. This isn't right. And I'm going to take my connection away until I actually see you challenge your behaviors of what you're sorry about. If you say you're going to go to meetings or get a sponsor or go to inpatient, you know what? I'm going to take my connection away because I no longer want to be an active participant in this manipulation that you say one thing and you don't follow through. So I'm going to say no, and I'm going to take my connection away until I see you actually follow through. And that's the picket fence. I'm going to watch you. This isn't a wall. I'm going to watch you. I love you. I want to support you. And right when you take those steps into recovery, I will support you. I just want to make sure that it's followed through. All right, guys? So I'm going to stop there because remember, again, just saying there, it's going to allow them that time to process. Okay? And it's allowing us the time to process. We both need time to process. And sometimes, yeah, guys, it's not an hour. It can look like days, weeks, or even months. We need that time to actually process to create change. But if we keep going back in with our codependency and we keep co-signing the manipulation, we're not helping our loved ones in addiction. You are giving your power and your strength to the addict, not to the true individual. When you do your hard, you reach out to your support system, you hold these boundaries, you detach with love, you are actually healthy supporting your loved one and you're taking power away from the disease of addiction, okay? So guys, what we've been doing lately, I want to do this again. Hand over the heart. We're going to take a deep breath in and out, and we're going to ask ourselves how we feel today. And no matter how we label it, sometimes we label feelings of sadness or anger or frustration as bad. Don't label it as bad. It's how you feel. And the first step to healing is accepting how we feel in the moment because it's us. Okay? So hand over the heart. Here you are. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in and out, and ask how you feel. Second deep breath in and out. We're going to picture this beautiful gold healing light going in, and we're going to exhale anything that no longer serves us. If you doubt yourself, accept it where we are. I doubt myself today. And now say, okay, I've got it, and let it go. Okay? Deep breath, in and out. And third deep breath in and out that always puts a smile on my face. Please know, you are never alone in this battle. Okay? You are loved and you are supported. When you close your eyes, we are all taking a deep breath with one another, no matter what time it is, no matter what part of the world we're in. We are connected in this moment. We are powerful, and we can't do this alone, so always remember that. So take a deep breath in and out. It's like I do. I just always see these lights pop on, and I feel stronger because I know I'm not alone. I love you guys very much. I hope this live helped. I hope you have a fantastic day. And remember, do something for you. You are important and you are worth it. Just like your loved one in addiction. They are important and they are worth it. So why don't we start giving ourselves the time and showing us that we are important and we are worth it. I love you guys. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.